I'm Harrison Graham. It is trade season in the NFL as we are less than 2 weeks away from the 2025 NFL trade deadline on November 4th. Shout out producer Cullen Brown. He came up with this segment idea a few weeks ago, and we're bringing it to you today. I'm going to explore 15 Bears trade targets in 3 different categories, which are as follows. Number 1, blockbuster, high-end starters, stars, like wow type of move, right? Like that, like a potentially season altering type of move. Significant starting caliber player. Maybe you upgrade at a weakness, maybe you enhance a position. Starting caliber or very high end rotation player is what you're looking at here. And then a minor move, maybe you bring in a role player, someone who can rotate in, contribute heavily on special teams, be a backup, or some kind of a project, right? Like sometimes you see these pick swap type of trades where a team punts on a player because it's not working out there. Other teams take a chance. Think, for example, when the Bears claimed Alex Leatherwood off waivers with the Raiders a couple years ago, first-round pick who didn't work out in Vegas. Bears brought him in, didn't work out. But that type of move, like a minor trade, 6th, 7th-round pick swap, something like that. 6-7, as they say. Okay, 4 blockbuster targets. And obviously, from blockbuster to significant to minor, you're going from least to more likely, right? So these guys we're going to talk about here, not very likely. I don't think Trey Hendrickson is very likely at this point, not only for the Bears, but in general. That last Thursday night, and it's been well documented, well reported, Bengals-Steelers, it really did feel like that was a turning point for the Bengals season. It was, if we win, we're going to keep Trey Hendrickson. We're going to go for it with Joe Flacco and try to stay in the playoff hunt until hopefully Joe Burrow comes back. If we lose, Pittsburgh separates even further in the division. Maybe we trade Trey Hendrickson and kind of punt on the season. But with them winning, they're 3-4. They're only a game and a half back. I think that it's pretty clear that they want to keep Trey Hendrickson and go for it. Now, could that change? They play the Jets this week. If they lose to the Jets, and then if the Bears, which of course we're hoping to beat Cincinnati, let's say they lose these two, could that change? Could you go from we're all in to we're all out at 3-6? I think they would have to lose both of these to reconsider their position on Trey Hendrickson. So keep an eye on it. Go Jets, go! If you're in camp, bring me Trey Hendrickson, and then obviously tongue in cheek here. Winner in Week 9 gets Hendrickson. If you lose to the Bears, you got to trade him to us. Well, what do you say, Cincinnati? Obviously, joking there. But if they lose the Jets, maybe the door reopens for them to consider trading Hendrickson. Beyond that, though, I think he's probably staying at this point in time. Jeffery Simmons, similar type of deal, not because the Titans are having a relevant season, but it's been pretty well reported that Tennessee does not want to trade him. Ian Rappaport said that after they fired Brian Callahan, Tennessee's phone started to ring a lot about teams trying to trade for Jeffery Simmons, and they were saying we're not doing that. Diana Rossini even went as far as saying they're willing to trade anyone not named Cam Ward or Jeffery Simmons. Now, these things can change. We've heard stuff like this before. Like I remember Devontae Adams in Green Bay, a good example. It was always, we're never trading him, and then they did. So you never know. What if Simmons comes out and requests a trade? Like these things can be fluid, and if they lose twice again before the deadline and it's just embarrassing, would they just take a haul for him? I don't know if the Bears would be that team to give a big offer. You'd have to move some money around. Obviously, the Bears have like $8-9 million in cap space, so they'd have to free some up by trading another piece or restructuring some contracts. They could make it work if they wanted to, but it doesn't seem like the Titans are moving Jeffery Simmons. It doesn't seem like the Raiders are moving Maxx Crosby either, especially after Tom Pelissero's report from earlier this week. I actually scripted a show about the idea of trading for Crosby because there was that Trey Wingo report that the Cowboys called in to check on Max at the Raiders, but Pelissero later that day had the report that the Raiders and Crosby met, and the Raiders told Max that they are not shopping him and will not trade him. This situation has felt for years now in Vegas that the only way they would consider trading him is if he requested a trade. And up to this point, he hasn't. He's been loyal. He wants to make it work there, which is something that Pelissero has talked, that he wants to win more than anyone, and he wants to do it with the Raiders. I still think at some point, you got to, fight for your career, right? Like, do you just want to be on a losing team forever? But it seems like for now, he's not going to pivot off that stance of staying loyal to Las Vegas. This one's pretty interesting. It's been mostly quiet on Quinnen Williams, but Connor Hughes, SNY, who covers the Jets and the Giants, did have an interesting little nugget here. He said this recently, quote, he said, I was told by somebody very tied into this situation that the Jets are probably looking at a 2, trade value-wise, second-round pick when it comes to Quinnen Williams. He said there are rumblings around there that Quinnen Williams is unhappy. Why wouldn't he be? The Jets suck. That's the perception around the league. And I was like, okay, I'll just look at this. What's the cap hit situation? Well, his cap hit, if you traded for him today and that 2025 number goes down by the week because it's prorated by game, it's only $10.27 million. The Bears can almost absorb that right now. A minor move and boom, they're there. So they could take him on. 20.7 next year, 25.4 in 2027, and there's an out after 2026. So you would have a pretty reasonable contract here that you'd be taking on. Now, the Bears have a lot of big contracts set for next year, so you'd probably have to restructure somebody in the offseason or trade somebody. But that would be a question for 5 months from now. You wouldn't have to deal with that today. His contract's pretty reasonable, and he's a really good pass rusher on the interior. He can play the run as well. Him and Javon Dexter next to each other would be pretty fun. So, and only a second-round pick for a guy of his status. That would intrigue me pretty good, especially since you can absorb his contract this year without having to do that much with your books. Again, not saying any of these are likely, and in fact, based on where the Bears are right now, I would tend to think that a blockbuster trade is unlikely, or even a Montez Sweat caliber move is probably not going to happen. Now, you win the next 2 weeks, who knows, right? Like, you're feeling good about yourself. Maybe you feel like you're one big piece away from making a run this year. Again, the NFL is a very fluid league when it comes to teams and how they view themselves. So, I would bet against it, but, I'm an aggressive-minded guy. So, like, if they were 7-2 and took a swing on a Quinnen Williams, like, I could understand the move. So, we'll see how the next couple of weeks play out, but I would say it's pretty unlikely that they make that big swing. Should the Bears make a blockbuster trade, do you want to go all in? Type Y for yes, type in for no. Today, I would lean no. Ask me in 2 weeks, though. Things could certainly change. Okay, significant trade targets. And again, these are for starting caliber players or at minimum high-end contributors, rotation players that play a lot. Jermaine Johnson. Now, Jermaine Johnson in the last 48 hours has been in the headlines because he tweeted this out, the classic Wolf of Wall Street, I'm not leaving, I'm not effing leaving, and everybody was like, well, is that him sending a message to the Jets, or has he been told something? And then on Thursday, he met with the media and multiple reporters, Rich Simony of ESPN as well. I want to give Nick Faria credit first. He had it saying that he spoke with Jermaine about his tweet, and that Jermaine Johnson told Faria and Rich Simony later that he got clarification from the Jets saying they want to keep him, and he told them he wants to stay. So, look, again, fluid league, things can change. If they're 0-9, maybe they would pivot off that stance, but he's been pretty consistent that he wants to stay there. I don't know why. The Jets are a joke, but it sounds like he's not going to get moved, at least not at this point in time, which is kind of unfortunate because he's been the name I've actually been most intrigued by in terms of reporting of guys who could be available in this cycle. And the reason for that is one, he's still pretty young. Two, this contract, this year it's nothing. Next year, 13.4 on the fifth-year option. You wouldn't have to panic extend him right away. You could get him in here, see how he fits in this defense, and even if it's just a year-and-a-half rental for like a fourth-round pick, which would be my offer, probably wouldn't go with the third considering he has a torn Achilles in his injury history. If that's the worst-case scenario, fourth-round pick for a year-and-a-half guy that you let go, that's not that bad for a guy who at minimum would be a good rotation piece, but potentially a high-end starter. So we'll see if that situation changes, but sounds like it's unlikely. Riq Woolen, I was told it's been about a week and a half now that the Bears were scouring around the corner market. Now Tyreek Stevenson's a little banged up again. We don't know how much time he's going to miss, if any, but even if he doesn't, you are still a little bit thin in terms of depth at the cornerback position, especially on the outside. You got Tyreek and Deshaun Wright, but your top backup outside corner is Jaelan Jones, and when Tyreek went out last against the Saints, they didn't even put him in. They put Kyler on the outside, brought Nick McLeod in the game, so it's not like the Bears have a third outside corner that they feel good about. Now, Riq Woolen, I would think you'd probably only trade for him if you were going to start him, but here's what Jeremy Fowler has reported, ESPN.com. He said multiple league execs have Woolen earmarked as a strong trade candidate leading into the deadline. Quote, they've been wanting to move him for a while, one executive said. That exec continued to say, quote, he doesn't fit what Mike Macdonald wants to do. Close quote. Fowler added this, Woolen would be best served going to a team that can use his man coverage traits. That's a Dennis Allen fit. One potential hurdle to a deal, Seattle's other starting corner, Devon Witherspoon, has had a difficult time staying healthy this season. And we saw the other night with Witherspoon out, I thought Riq Woolen played pretty well against the Houston Texans. Had, I think, a couple breakups, was pretty sticky in coverage too. He can be a little grabby at times, but, you know, his rookie year, he has this all-world year. Then he's not quite as good since then. I would say if you add up his whole career, he's played like a CB2. He's not an all-pro, but, you know, he's got more skins on the wall than Nahshon Wright. And listen, I like what Nahshon Wright has done. As a guy who's been a journeyman, a fringe roster guy, he has earned his paycheck this year. There is no question about it. I want to see how he plays the next 2 weeks. If he struggles, especially you got that Bengals game coming up, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, if he gets exposed in a game like that, I do wonder if a call to Seattle could take place for Riq Woolen, especially if Witherspoon gets back and is in the fold there. So keep an eye on this one. I think he would be an upgrade over Nahshon Wright. And then Nahshon Wright as your backup outside guy, I think you feel pretty good about that. Okay, we have got to tell you about a fantastic sponsor that's been with us for a while. That is PrizePicks, the best daily fantasy sports app. It's available in 45 states now. Most of the country you can play PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. 2-player lineups, 3-player lineups, up to 6-player lineups. You just pick more or less on the stat projections. Passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, field goals, sacks, points, rebounds, assists in basketball. Dozens of stats available, combo stats. And get this, you can have different players from different sports in one lineup. You could have a Bears player, a Bulls player, and a Blackhawks player all in one lineup. You can do that with PrizePicks right now. You just pick more or less on a stat projection available, and if you hit, you win money. It's fun, it's easy, it's cool. Good bragging point with your friends as well. I got a 2-player lineup this weekend. Derrick Henry, more than half a touchdown rushing or receiving. Doesn't matter. If he scores, I'll get that there. Goblin pick, so those are a little easier to hit, a little less payout there. But I kind of evened it out with a demon play from Rome Odunze to find the end zone. He's due. Hadn't scored the last 2 weeks. Got screwed in Washington. I think he finds the end zone on Sunday. $20 entry for this one to win $55. Check out PrizePicks today. Download the PrizePicks app. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Okay, Breece Hall, a guy we were talking about a lot, a couple of weeks ago before this run game resurgence for the Chicago Bears. Still having a really good season. His efficiency's dipped a little the last 2 weeks, but that team's just falling apart, and he's still at 4.5 yards per carry. Really good number. That O-line has not played as well since the early part of the season when they were playing pretty well in the run game, so that's been an issue as well, but he's always been a threat to catch the football too. I like Breece Hall a lot, and I've said this from a Jet standpoint. Them keeping him makes no sense. They're so far away. He's entering free agency this offseason. They should trade him unless the offers are just atrocious. I think they could probably get a 4 for him. As far as the Bears go, though, I've kind of shifted. 2 weeks ago, I would have said, hey, 4th-round pick, let's do it. Not saying it would be a bad trade, but I just think what you've been able to do the last couple of weeks, you don't need to force the issue this year. He might be a guy you might be able to sign in free agency if he doesn't get extended by New York or another team. So I would probably stick away. Now, 2 games before the deadline, if some run game woes return or if there's an injury, you could certainly revisit this. But right now, don't think you would pull the trigger on this move. Okay, Jaelan Phillips, the Dolphins' edge. Seems like he's more attainable than Jermaine Johnson at this point. I was team Jermaine Johnson between these two. I'm not anti-Jaelan Phillips, but he is in that 5th-year option, final year of his contract. So you would either treat this as a rental or someone you would probably want to extend right away. And that makes me a little bit nervous because you've already invested a lot of money in the defensive line. It would almost be a signal that you're moving Dio Adengbo or Montez Sweat this offseason, which, hey, like I'm not I'm not tied down to either of those guys, certainly not Dio Adengbo with how he's played so far, but I just think this one's less likely. I think if the Bears are going to make a notable move, they want someone with contractual control. That's why I like the Jermaine Johnson one, because you'd have a year and a half of team control. This one, you got to make a quick decision. You'd have to extend him either on the fly or after the season, or you just treat it as a rental. And if he's a rental, the most I can do is a fifth. And even then, with where the Bears are at, I don't know if I'd want to do that. So we'll see if they show interest in Jaelan Phillips. Like the player, he's got a good pressure rate this year, but not sure the timeline works for Chicago. All right, we'll get to some minor trade targets in a second, maybe the range that is most likely for the Bears at this point in time. But I'll tell you this, if the Bears make a trade, we'll have it covered. Especially on trade deadline day, we'll be live for the trade deadline. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. Chances are we'll go live if they make a trade, unless it's at some weird hour. But at minimum, we'll have a video, so lock us in. Okay, some minor trade targets. We got 7 of these. We had 4 blockbusters. We had 4 significant trade targets. Now we take a look at some minor trade targets, which again I have defined as role players / projects. Tyree Wilson kind of fits both. I think he's good enough to be a role player right away. You could play him, but a bit of a project too, right? A first-round pick who I loved coming out of Texas Tech a couple years ago. He had a foot issue that I think lingered into his rookie year, and he's never quite showed that explosiveness. I thought he had a little more explosiveness in college. He's kind of a tweener. He's played some edge, some defensive tackle. He's been a little bit more effective as a D-tack, so I'm not sure how Dennis Allen would view him. He's long and powerful, so DA likes those guys on the edge, so I think he'd probably try him at edge first. I think he's an intriguing buy low target. Bill Barnwell had that option. Hey, you want to just trade Braxton Jones for Tyree Wilson? I'm very intrigued by that. Now, Braxton Jones has got this knee issue. I don't know how serious that is, so I don't know if something like that would be on the table or if it's just like a 6th-round pick. But if you want to buy low for a first-round player from a couple years ago who has at least next year and potentially a 5th-year option, if you were to exercise it, available, Tyree Wilson could be an intriguing piece. Cam Taylor-Britt, who recently got benched by Cincinnati. They're trying to tinker their defense that's been off to a slow start. He has not played super well to start 2025, just a couple of breakups in 5 games and doesn't have an interception. But he had 7 picks the last 2 years and 27 breakups. I mean, this guy has made a lot of plays on the football the last couple of seasons for Cincinnati. And again, at corner, you feel okay with Tyreek and Nahshon Wright, but you don't have a lot of depth on the outside. And Nahshon Wright, while he's made some plays for you, a couple picks, has a fumble recovery, he's also getting beat some. And listen, that's totally fine. He's a backup, for his career. Maybe this, he continues to develop, and give Al Harris and this coaching staff a lot of credit. He's playing at least like a serviceable starter, but a guy like Cam Taylor-Britt, a lot of skins on the wall. At minimum, he's a good backup for you if you were to bring him in, and who knows, he could be insurance or even competition for Nahshon Wright if you wanted to go that route. Wouldn't give up a lot for him, but pick swap, late round pick would certainly be open to it. Jerome Ford, this would be pick swap only for me. Roschon's got this back thing now. I don't know how serious it is, but he's kind of a physical back who can get downhill. This year, he's got less than 100 yards because since Quinshon Judkins has come back, him and the fellow rookie Dylan Sampson have gotten the bulk of the carries. But the last 2 seasons, pretty productive, right? As a rotation back, over 4 yards per carry, almost 1,400 yards. So he's over 650 per season the last 2 seasons, really like 680. 7 touchdowns. He catches the ball pretty well too, 544 and 5 receiving touchdowns. Honestly, Roschon coming out of college was kind of a Jerome Ford type, a guy who could catch the ball. He could do a little bit of everything, even though not great at anything. And, for whatever reason, Roschon hasn't fully developed. I think the head injuries have been part of that, certainly. But, if this Roschon deal is serious, and I don't know that it is or isn't, the back injury, a guy like Jerome Ford could step in, be that third back, be a bruiser, help on special teams, and, catch some screens and checkdowns as well. Arnold Ebiketie is next up here. He was mentioned by ESPN as a potential trade candidate. He's kind of fallen out of favor there, mostly because James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker, the 2 rookies, have just been good. Those 2 draft picks have panned out for Atlanta, and they've found success with those two guys. So Ebiketie just hasn't played a ton, but he's bounced around. He's been in this league for a bit. Again, you're probably talking about a pick swap or a late round pick, but if you want to add a piece to the rotation, he could be someone you could do that with. Arden Key, same deal. I think he's got 1.5 sacks this year. He's bounced around. He's played with the Niners, the Jags, and he was with the Raiders for a little while. He's played in a lot of different systems and for a lot of different teams, so he's pretty scheme versatile, I would say. But he's not going to come in and start. He would come in and be like a fourth edge rusher type, so you could look at someone like that. Same deal with Matt Judon. We know the Bears last offseason were very interested, offered a third-round pick. Atlanta did as well. He ends up going to Atlanta, signed with the Dolphins this year, hasn't done much. He's probably near the end of his career. You're talking like pick swap, maybe like 2 drafts from now. You wouldn't give up anything notable at all, but veteran who can rush the passer a little bit, you could certainly bring him in. And then Deonte Banks, who I think this would be a backup behind Nahshon Wright and Tyreek Stevenson. He's been pretty bad. I don't really like his attitude from what I've seen, but kind of in the Tyree Wilson mold, but a little bit less. Former first-round pick. There's some talent in there somewhere. Could you bring him in to kind of develop him on the side and, if nothing else, at least be a backup option? Is he better than Jaelan Jones? You would think so, but another name to at least mention here. All right, name a player the Bears should trade for. We went through some blockbuster options, some, starting caliber options, and obviously some smaller, minor type of options, role players, project types there at the end. I think the Bears are probably working more so in that mold, maybe into that second tier that we talked about if the right player is available for the right price. But the blockbuster move seems pretty unlikely at this point in time, but the sport is fluid. Things change. Let us know if there's a player you want the Bears to trade for. My name is Harrison Graham. Thank you guys so much. If you made it to the end of the video, that makes you a real one. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Support us, and we'll see you guys soon. Bear down.